Phillipsburg Land Use Board meeting, August 22nd, 2024.
Has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by posting notice on the bulletin board in the municipal building, by publishing in the Express Times and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers of the town of Phillipsburg, by posting notice on the website of the town of Phillipsburg, filing said notice with the town clerk of Phillipsburg, as well as furnishing said notice to those persons requesting it pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act. As advertised, action may be taken at this meeting. Board policy of this town of Phillipsburg Land Use Board is not to hear any new cases after 10 p.m. and no new witnesses after 10:30 p.m. Flags.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Branch.
Here.
Mr. Brodsman.
Here.
Chairman Duffy.
Here.
Mr. Knoll.
Here.
Councilwoman Paulus. Here. Mr. Penrose.
Here.
Mayor Piazza.
Here.
Mr. Turnbull.
Here.
Mr. Zegra. Vice Chairman Zwicker.
Here. 9, we have 4. Do I hear a motion on the minutes dated 7/25/24?
So moved.
You can't.
I abstain.
Yeah. Oh, John Penrose, okay. Second?
Second.
Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any against? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Bill? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Completeness. I believe 88 Heckman and 641 Hillcrest are not going to be heard tonight. Okay, public hearing on 186 Hagarty Avenue.
Okay, good evening, members of the board. My name is Brian Tipton. I'm here on behalf of Sharon and Jerry Pandolfi, and we're here for a minor site plan with variances application, 186 Hagarty Road. It's a 359 square foot addition to a residential house in a residential zone. We did our notice, taxes are paid, and I have two witnesses here tonight, Mike Doster, our architect, and Sharon Pandolfi on behalf of the applicant. Would you like to swear both of them at the same time, or doing one at a time later?
We can do both.
Okay. If you guys can stand and raise your right hands.
You swear from the testimony you will give in this matter will give the truth to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I'll call Mike Doster and have him provide you with his qualifications and experience. We've already previously marked his resume as A6.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think we can dispense with the qualifications. I did have Mr. Tipton provide me with his qualifications in advance, and I've reviewed them, and I'm recommending the board recognize him as an architectural expert.
Anyone have any questions for him?
So moved.
Okay, second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to the existing conditions, and I'm just going to have the witness identify what's been circulated as A1 through A4.
So if you just take a look, A1 is the front of the house, 186 Hagarty. A2 essentially is looking on the right elevation. You'll see the existing front
Excuse
porch.
me, hold on a second. Could you go over to the mic, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem. Exhibit A2, you'll see is the existing front porch, as well as the existing two-story structure. If you make your way to A3, you will see there's an existing small bump out. It's a one-story bump out.
I don't think it's on.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. A3 is the rear elevation. You'll see there's an existing one-story bump out as part of the existing kitchenette. Making our way to A4, that is essentially the small concrete platform that is coming off of that small bump out. You'll also see it is a small one-story brick garage structure. Sorry. And then we're back to A1. The additional exhibits will be part of my drawing submissions, which were sent to the board previously.
And we have marked the drawings that are blown up, the ones that were in your package, as A5, and they run from SD01 to SD04. So Mike, can you take the, give us some of the testimony on the existing conditions that you show in your drawing?
Sure, I'm actually just going to pull it up closer so I can read it. So if you look on the site survey, you'll see that our lot is 65 feet wide. On the right-hand side, we're approximately 102 feet deep. On the left-hand side, we're 138 feet deep. There's, like I said, a two-story brick dwelling. There's a front porch which wraps around the front side as well as the right-hand side of the structure. There's a single-car asphalt driveway leading to a brick garage. We also have an existing shed structure to the rear of the lot. You'll see there's also an existing bluestone patio, paver patio, which is centered between the garage and the home itself.
Can you describe for the board what the layout of the interior of the each floor?
Sure. So if you go to sheet A2, I'm sorry, SD02, you will see the existing floor plans. First floor itself, you enter into the existing entry foyer. Okay, thank you. To the left, you'll see the existing living room space. To the rear of that is an existing dining room. On the far side, you'll see the existing kitchen and eating area. There is a partial finished basement with an office and a powder room down there. And the other half is unfinished with laundry. On the second floor, you'll see there are 3 bedrooms and 1 full finished bathroom.
And is the bathroom on the second, there's no bathroom on the first floor?
There are no bathrooms on the first floor.
Now, can you flip this and provide the board with a description of the proposed addition?
Sure. So we're trying our best to leave the existing structure as it is to the furthest extent possible. We're essentially adding a proposed master bedroom and master bathroom area on the first floor. You'll see the second floor will actually undergo no work that is existing to remain. So once you come through here, we're essentially extending. We're doing a 14-foot by 14-foot master bedroom. You're going to come down, there's a smaller closet into your master bathroom space.
So the only additions, or the only intention here is to create a bedroom and a bathroom on the first floor.
That is correct.
Now, can you tell us why you selected the location on the property for this addition?
Sure. Given the fact that the lot is on the narrow end, we were limited with our actual locations. We were hesitant to attach it to the existing garage. So we essentially located it to the rear of the structure as well as the right-hand side. We were just being mindful of the right hands, the side yard setbacks, as well as the rear yard setback. So in our opinion, where we essentially located it was the best location possible for the addition.
So basically, that right side yard setback, if you're looking at the house from the road, that keeps it within the setback and keeps it consistent with the porch.
That is exactly correct. We are essentially projecting no further than the existing porch you'll see in Exhibit A1.
And do you feel that, the manner in which you situated it and the amount of square footage was about the minimum you could have added to achieve the goal of having a bedroom and a bathroom on the first floor?
Absolutely. I think, master bedrooms have gotten considerably larger in recent times. I think a 14-foot by 14-foot is a very modest size, and the bare minimum that we would do for a master bedroom.
All right, let's shift to talking about the variances. We have 4 variances here, primarily due to the size and the shape of the lot. But let's walk through each one just so the board knows exactly what relief we're seeking here.
Sure. We have a few existing non-conforming conditions. The first one being the minimum lot frontage. We require 75 feet. We only have 65 feet.
And there's no change to that report?
There's no change to that variance. The second one being the minimum front yard setback. As you can see on the survey, it is at 17.0 feet to the front porch. Our required setback is 25 feet. We are not making that condition worse. There's no change to that variance either. The third one is the minimum floor area, which is a requirement of 1,200 square feet. We have currently 743 square feet for the first floor. So with our addition, we're coming in at 1,102. So we're still under the minimum, or we're making that condition better. And then the final one would be the coverage. We are essentially, the existing non-conforming requirement is 30%. The current structure and house and lot is at 31%. We are going to increase that to 34.7%.
Now, do you believe that the location of the addition is minimize the need for any variance relief based on where you could have put it?
The only issue with the lot, with the coverage, essentially that condition really would follow us wherever we would locate that addition.
So there's no place else you could put it to make the maximum coverage less?
No.
And there's no place that you could, and you already testified that you basically made this as small as possible to minimize the floor area.
That is correct, and we try to be mindful of all of these setbacks.
Are you aware of any detriment that may be caused by the variances that we're seeking here to the neighborhood or to the zoning, ordinance in general?
Essentially from the street perspective, I don't think you will really even see the addition with the front porch being there. So I do not see any detriment.
Okay. And shifting to the board's engineer's July 23rd, 2024 letter, which we went over briefly at the completeness hearing. If you shift to page 3, the technical review, there are 5 items listed, and we're in agreement to comply with all of those, and we will do so in whatever is required by your engineer post-hearing. At this time, that concludes Mike's testimony. I don't know if you have any questions for him at this time.
Does anyone have any questions for us? Go ahead.
Just based on the testimony provided, related to my technical comment number 1, just add verifying that there's a backflow preventer conform with the town code because of the bathroom located in the basement.
Okay.
That's it. Anyone else have any questions?
Mr. O'Brien, you received testimony as to need for any tree removal? No?
There will be 1 small dogwood and a patch of tulips will be removed.
And we will get shade tree approval if needed, if so needed.
Okay.
Okay. And at this time, I'll call Sharon Pandolfi very briefly just to give the reasons that she is seeking this addition for her home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Basically, we're just seeking the addition because we need a bathroom and a bedroom on our first floor so that we can stay there and age in place.
Mm.
You know, we like the neighborhood, we're happy there, we like living in Phillipsburg, we don't want to have to move, but we need that.
Did you look at other options with trying to change what you have on site without the addition?
We had a couple of other, I think Mike and 2 other architects come in and a couple of plumbers come in to see if there was anything we could do with our existing space, and there's no room. There's no room to put anything else.
Okay, that's all. Any questions for Ms. Randolph?
Anyone? Thank you.
So just to conclude, we believe the applicant has satisfied the requirements for variance relief. We think the project promotes the general welfare and allows for appropriate population of people to stay in certain neighborhoods, allowing the applicants to age in place as she testified. I think this is the least intrusive way to do it. The property is small. There's an existing house that has physical limitations, and that makes it a unique situation, for this property for her to again age in place for them, I should say. Again, there's no detriment to the public good, zoning plan, or ordinance. All 4 variances are pre-existing. One is made better while the other is slightly worse, but in the end, it's more of a wash from a variance standpoint, and we ask that you grant the relief.
Testimony as a planner.
I think given the nature of the application, planning testimony isn't needed. I think you heard from the architect, given the uniqueness under NJS 40.55D-70C1, where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property, I think we've got adequate testimony as to that from the architect, and he was qualified to testify as to that, and that's the legal basis for the relief.
Anybody else have questions? Public comment? If anyone would like to speak on this project at this time, please step forward to the microphone. State your name and address. Even this evening, we're going to also ask you to spell your last name slowly.
Excuse me, my name is Robert Coyle. I live at 192 Hagarty, right next to the Penn office. For me, I'd like to see many acres around me, but I live in town. They're great neighbors. There's a need. Of all the neighbors, it would impact my property the most, and my wife and I have no problem.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I'm closing public comment. Okay, variances first. Okay, we have 4 variances. Maximum lot coverage, minimum lot frontage, minimum front yard setback, and minimum floor area. Do I hear a motion on these?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Bernie?
Chairman's job to figure out who's who, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to help. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments concerning this? Roll call?
Mr. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Brodsman?
Yes.
Mr. Penrose?
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Paulus?
Yes.
Mayor Piazza?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Zwicker?
Yes.
And Chairman Duffy?
Yes. That's 9. Passes.
Thank you very much.
We're not done yet.
Motion for
Yeah, motion.
final minor site plan.
That would help. You get the pencils out. I have a motion for preliminary and final.
Motion.
Keith?
I'll second.
John? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Brodsman?
Yes.
Mr. Penrose?
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Paulus?
Yes.
Mayor Piazza?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Zwicker?
Yes.
And Chairman Duffy?
Yes. No. Thank you. Yeah, we don't have a bill list, right? Okay. And old business, public hearing for consistency review report for proposed amendment to the Riverfront Development Plan. I'm going to turn this over to you.
So, before we proceed, are there any members of the board who wish to recuse themselves from this?
I do.
Yes. Mayor Piaz and Ms. Pauls. Anybody else?
No, it's all you.
Chairman, I submitted a report dated August 7, 2024, for a consistency review based on an amendment proposed by the Town of Phillipsburg governing body, ordinance 20-2414. As I would just ask that the report that was submitted and on file with the town, with the board, be made a record, part of the record for this hearing. Jumping to the summary of the report, pursuant to 40A, 12A, 7E, a list of inconsistencies must be noted in recommendations for actions on those items. However, there are not items which were determined to be inherently inconsistent with the current master plan re-exam. A thorough analysis was provided within the study report that reviewed each goal and objective for the latest master plan and found there was no inconsistencies with the amendment and guiding documents. With our review of the master plan documents and redevelopment prior to industrial, with the review of our master plan documents and redevelopment prior to industrial zone change amendments, we found the documents demonstrate clear desire to develop a robust community through revitalization to spur economic growth for the community, with consideration to provide for all uses such as industrial, residential, and commercial. A number of the goals and objectives when considering consistency or inconsistency were reviewed on an individual basis and considered as a part of the whole plan document vision. We further included in detailed analysis and basis for the position taken here, where the item was recommended to be considered for consistent, inconsistent, or not applicable, to aid the board members in the review and consideration of the governing body request to amend the development plan. Should the board find a reason to indicate items are inconsistent, those items should be noted in their findings and recommendation to council. With items that are found inconsistent, the board may need to include reasons and recommendations to address the inconsistent item matter. So the overview of the report summary was found that we did not find any items that were not consistent or in common. We can go through in a bit more detail through each of the items if desired.
Anyone wishing to go through in more detail? It's only 700 and some pages. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm now going to open this to public comments. Again, please step up to the microphone, state your name, address, and we may ask you to spell your name. We had some difficulty last time.
Good evening. David Morrisette, 5 Fairview Heights, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. I did send a memo note to the Land Use Board with things that I thought were indiscrepancies and errors that were of a serious nature to the report. And I hope you had a chance to read them and consider them. As you may remember, you were provided a stack of 93 letters from residents of Phillipsburg who believe allowing zoning of industrial on the Peron Howard Street property is not consistent with the Phillipsburg 2000 Master Plan Revision Report. Specifically, they believe the master plan dictates the town should only be zoning or rezoning properties on Howard Street to Riverside Residential, Riverside Commercial, and/or Riverside Heritage. I encourage you, Vice Chairman, to let any land use board members who have not yet had a chance to read the Howard Street specific portion of the 2013 master plan to request time to read and process this section of the report before the land use board takes any vote. You should have a copy of the 2013 master plan in front of you. The Howard Street section of the 2013 master plan revision report can be found starting on page 28 of this report and continues into page 29. Upon reading the Howard Street specific section of the 2013 master plan revision report, I believe members will see a few things are true. The master plan indicates that the town should consider rezoning the light industrial on the north side of Howard Street to Riverside Residential, Riverside Commercial, and/or Riverside Heritage. The master plan indicates the strip of property where there currently exists light industrial should evolve, if possible, into zoning that will allow transition to lower density along to the lower density neighborhood along Cherry Alley, Mercer Street, and Cedar Alley to the higher density development that would have been built on the Peron Howard Street property. There is no way zoning any properties along Howard Street to industrial could be considered consistent with the master plan. If the land use board thinks that industrial zoning now belongs on the Peron Howard Street property, and the idea of Howard Street not evolving to Riverside Residential, Riverside Commercial, and Riverside Heritage, and it's not what the land use board wants, I believe that is the message the land use board should send back to the council. Specifically, the land use board does not find making the Howard Street property industrial is consistent with the master plan, but the land use board is still in favor of making Peron Howard Street property industrial. Of course, I believe making the Peron Howard Street property industrial is a bad idea for the residents of Phillipsburg. It is my hope that the land use board will just return a decision that indicates the warehouse ordinance is not consistent with the town's master plan. As mentioned, the land use board members each received 93 letters from residents indicating that they did not believe making the Peron Howard Street property is consistent with the 2013 master plan. Additionally, a number of residents that signed letters thanked us for our efforts, but some said they thought our efforts would be in vain. Some residents said they do not vote for local elections because they believe decisions are made behind the scenes, and the decisions that are made are to benefit powerful people, law firms, and developers who pull strings of local politicians, and it does not matter what is good for the residents. For all the residents who have signed letters saying that they believe industrial is inconsistent with the master plan, and particularly those residents that have lost faith in the local government, I would like to request that any land use board members who vote that industrial is consistent with the master plan explain why they are voting that industrial is consistent with the master plan. I realize land use board members do not have to explain their votes, but I believe if they vote industrial is consistent with the master plan, they owe it to the residents to explain why. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Robert Hopkins, 12 Ramseyburg Road, Columbia, New Jersey. I'm a lifelong resident of Warren County. I'm the president of the Warren County Building and Construction Trades. I represent the men and women in the building and construction trades. Living here my whole life, I had not a whole lot of opportunity to work on many projects in this Warren County area. I've been in the Carpenters Union for 37 years. Very few times did I get opportunity to work in my own backyard. I traveled great distances to go to work to provide and have a career in the construction trades. I'm entrusted as a building trades president and president of my local right now to find opportunity for young people and all my members that are current. It's hard to look a member in the face and say to them, you're traveling 60, 70 miles to work each and every day to provide opportunity for yourself and a career. It's hard to recruit people out of the schools, the high schools and the vocational schools that we work with on a daily basis to try to recruit, because I'm having to tell those folks they're not going to get opportunity to work on a redevelopment property or a redevelopment of an industrial site. There's not many opportunities that come along to the union building trades. But when we see a good project come along where we can have opportunities for our members and their families to grow in the community and be lifelong residents of the community, I think that project is a good thing going forward. More times than not, our members are traveling great distances to go to work. They're coming home, they're leaving at 4 in the morning, getting home 7 at night. Are they going to be good residents in your town? No, because they're wore out. We want people, we pride our members, and we always tell them to be good stewards of your community. Growing up, my dad was the head of our athletic association for years, was involved in coaching baseball, always made time to come home and be with other kids and, you know, move the sport forward. But our members aren't getting those opportunities because they're having to travel great distances to go to work. When they're able to work in their own backyard and work on a project from 7 to 3:30 or 8 to 4:30, they can be better citizens of their community and help give back to their community. I think the project is a good project, and we're looking forward to hoping seeing the board pass the project and seeing our members from the community work on the project. Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else?
My name is Janice Hosbach, Hosbach. I live at 150 Mercer Street in Phillipsburg. This warehouse is literally in my backyard. Would you want it in your backyard? Why are you putting it in mine? Also, according to the master plan, there were road constructions that were proposed in order to just handle the car traffic that was supposedly going to be created by housing back there. These mention various things of changes of intersections, massive changes of intersections, widening, buying up property, and then having to demolish homes just so traffic could make right-hand turns, left-hand turns. What sort of traffic is now going to be allowed with trucks? How many homes will have to be torn down just to widen the streets? You can't do the Howard Street extension simply because LMR, I doubt, will sell their property. And that's the only pathway from satellite map to go from Howard Street to Center Street. The other option is right down McKean Street. At the other end of McKean, you already have McWayne Ductile coming in with their trucks. Now you've got trucks coming down from a warehouse right at the same intersection. What's going to happen? What kind of traffic's going to be created? And as for the improvements that were proposed by the Land Use Board, according to the last master plan, let's see, I was just curious, who's going to pay for these improvements? Is it the person selling the property, the person building the warehouse, or is this just going to be another tax burden on the taxpayers? Everyone here lives in Phillipsburg. Are you going to be stuck paying the taxes for these road improvements for a warehouse we don't even want? Thank you.
My name is Fred Stine, S-T-I-N-E. I work with the Delaware River Keeper Network. We represent...
Louder.
We represent Fred Stine with the Delaware
It's
River
not
Keeper.
on. Microphone's not on. Something happened.
Well, as long as the board secretary is getting this recording.
I talk loud?
Okay.
Let me know. So we're, the Delaware River Keeper Network is an environmental advocacy organization. We represent residents from Phillipsburg, Easton, throughout New Jersey, throughout Pennsylvania, New York, and Delaware. I'm here tonight to talk about hoping that you vote against the consistency. The one thing I wanted to bring up 2 points, and I'm on vacation. Usually I bring up a printed sheet, but I had to use my phone because I don't have access to a printer, so this will be a new experience. But the one point I wanted to make about the building trades, and we all support jobs, but my understanding is a warehouse like they're proposing on Howard Street might take 9 months or a year to build. The impacts to a warehouse on Howard Street is going to be for long, way over, much longer than that, years, decades. My point is you can support good paying jobs and close, but you shouldn't destroy your community at the same time, especially when those jobs are only going to be here for a short amount of time, 9 months, maybe a year. I'm sure I could be corrected, but it's not very long. The point I wanted to make, 2 things is there's economic opportunity in Phillipsburg that can be supported without having the warehouse. In the New Jersey, open space provides a variety of, in New Jersey, open space provides a variety of environmental and economic benefits, including protecting the water resources, preservation of biodiversity and wildlife habitats, creates greenways, and enhances urban corridors to support recreational opportunity. In addition to parks, open space, that's what we're talking about, warehouses versus open space. Open space provides public health by encouraging active lifestyles that improve physical and mental wellness. This is especially important to successful urban redevelopment areas. Building a warehouse that results in thousands of tractor trailers driving through a community is in direct opposition of encouraging a healthy lifestyle and a healthy economic benefits. Mostly as a result of COVID in the United States, throughout the United States has seen growth in residential participating in making parks and outdoor spaces, taking advantage of outdoor spaces. Since March 2020, the number of Americans participating in outdoor recreation has increased 6.9%, even as COVID restrictions were lifted. The indoor and outdoor activities have become available, have increased since 2021. Participating in outdoor recreational, I'm sorry about this. I lost my page. The point is, there's a lot of outdoor recreation taking place now as a result of COVID, and that trend is not only United States wide throughout the U.S., it's in New Jersey too. In New Jersey, just since the COVID, outdoor recreation has produced 132,000 direct jobs. It's created $11.7 billion in outdoor recreational activity. It's provided $6.2 billion in wages and salaries. Phillipsburg has the opportunity to take advantage of some of that outdoor activity and outdoor recreation and economic space. You have the key parts. I know I'm talking to the choir here. You have a great riverfront access, and you have a walkable downtown. Both of those are key parts to enhancing outdoor recreational activity. If you build a warehouse, if you cut down that forest and build a warehouse, you're detracting from people wanting to paddle down the river and coming into Phillipsburg. You're going to want to go someplace else. If you go up above the water gap, you'll see dozens and dozens of delivery services and Airbnbs and lots of outdoor recreational activity. South of the water gap, even down as far as Rigglesville, there's very little outdoor recreational opportunity as far as livery services and that sort of thing. My point is, and I hope you hear, is that by preserving that open space, you're helping Phillipsburg become a destination for outdoor recreation. Thank you.
I have a letter that I'd like to be officially in the record. My name is Sarah Hare, and I am from Hope.
Please speak into
Just
the
my
mic.
last name, working now? No. Is the mic working?
I don't think so.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Hare, H-A-R-E. It's in the letter.
Thank you.
Regarding this consistency review, I'll read my letter. I'll probably skip that.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully on time. All right.
That one works.
Yeah, real good.
As someone who cares about the Delaware River, its habitats and wildlife, and the quality of life for all of Warren County citizens, I implore you to consider seriously the local and regional negative impact of one more warehouse in our county. Currently, there are about 9 warehouses. I don't know about jobs building those warehouses, but there are about 9 warehouses up for sale or lease in Warren County from Belvedere to Hackettstown to Phillipsburg and Alpha. That means they are currently or will soon be empty. As you know, the Phillipsburg Mall will be redeveloped as a warehouse, possibly the farmland behind it, and a 450,000 square foot warehouse construction just broke ground in Alpha. This is in addition to a 350,000 square foot warehouse just approved for construction in Belvedere, and a 70,000 square foot warehouse in Blairstown. This presents the question, how many warehouses does Warren County need, and how will this one be filled if there are already so many empty warehouses nearby? And the bigger question, will it be sustainable since warehousing is plateauing in our area and around the country? The issues of the diesel-fueled truck traffic that these warehouses produce has been brought up in your meetings and in the town council meetings repeatedly. Not only should you be thinking about what has been reported to you regarding truck impact on the residents who will live on the nearby streets, including the air pollution, noise pollution, traffic, and safety. And by the way, there were 2 deaths in my town of Hope from truck accidents last year. You should be thinking ethically about how more trucks from the explosion of warehouses in our area will affect all of us regionally, even on routes 22 and 78. This advice is recommended in the State Planning Commission's warehouse guidelines document and in the Highlands Council's warehouse document designed to protect the Highlands Watershed Region, of which Phillipsburg is a part. I ask you, do the possible unsustainable and limited benefits of another warehouse outweigh the long-term local and regional costs? As you consider whether to approve or accept the consistency review for the amendment by Van Cleef Engineering, please keep the following comments in mind and reconsider any decision to approve the review. As a county college English instructor, I can say that there are numerous, and Chairman Duffy, you asked who has read that 900-page report. Well, guess what? I read a good chunk of it, and most of it is maps and charts and graphs, but every single member of this land use board should have read that document, because you will see that it is not professionally written. Every single item that says consistent, consistent, consistent has grammar and editing issues to them. I'm shocked. I can't believe it was submitted. I hope it hasn't been paid for. I hope you haven't paid Van Cleef Engineering yet, because that thing needs to be rewritten. It's horrifying. So I go through, and I guess I don't need to read everything here. I'm going to jump to my last. What I do is I go through a few of the consistents, and I know the grammar and editing issues, and I know where I have questions about content. And I do believe that regarding content, I can say that there are numerous grammatical and other editing errors in this document. But also, I will point out, there are also statements that are not verified that start with would or could or may, and other statements that imply that certain measures will automatically happen or be implemented without any reference to the mechanism or infrastructure needed to affect the action. So I go through, I'm just going to jump to my last one. So just as an example of the really confusing grammar and statements, just in one of these consistent statements, it's subcategory A, 17 under industrial, and it was deemed consistent. Quote, I'm just going to read it. From a land use aspect, the master plan goal and objective recognizes the limitations of zoning influence has over those items, but recognizes the need to consider providing opportunity for jobs in the community, whether renting, purchasing homes, or purchasing goods as simple as meal on the way to from employment. What? At the location. Then the last sentence really kind of blows my mind. There is also benefits of redeveloping existing industrial sites for industrial what? For industrial, as this avoids the development of existing residential uses into industrial property that may result in displacement or significant change in community/neighborhood.
Isn't that what this is doing?
All one needs to do to identify the severe grammar issues in that paragraph is to read it. But regarding content, the last sentence does not make any sense. Why would the town want to avoid development of residential uses? How would changing an industrially zoned property into a residentially zoned property result in displacement or significant changes of a community or neighborhood, even worse than or more than a warehouse would? This whole chain of thought is so convoluted grammatically that it is totally unclear, and then it leads one to question how adding a residential community to a location could result in the negative changes described. And how would a warehouse not result in significant change to an adjacent neighborhood or community in far worse ways? This does not make any sense as it is worded. I could go on. I thank you for taking my comments into consideration. Hope you will do what is best for the people of Phillipsburg and Warren County. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Justin Henry, Henry. I live at 164 Oakland Road. I actually have nothing prepared for this, and I didn't come here really for land use other than to drop off some paperwork. But I'm standing up now because I'm quite disappointed to hear that Phillipsburg is thinking about adding a new warehouse. Phillipsburg is already well on its way to becoming Warehouseville, as is. The trucks are everywhere, there's gray walls everywhere, it's quite bleak, needless to say. I support everything that I've heard tonight from this team in Orange, and it moved me enough to stand up today and speak on something that I know very little about. But I support them, and I implore you to think about the next generation of Phillipsburg youth here who will be growing up with gray walls all around them of the warehouses that are in their backyards. That's all I have to say.
Honorable Chairman, good evening, honorable board members. My name is Guy Citron, and I'm from Califon, North Hunterdon.
Excuse me, how do you spell your last name?
Oh, right, sorry, like lemon, C-I-T-R-O-N. C-I-T.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to make a ethical observation. Do you know why Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm before he became the president? It was because when you become an elected official, you're supposed to be representative of the public that you serve. And if you have a conflict of interest, like something as silly as a peanut farm, that might get in the way of your ability to serve. Now, I know that Mr. Perucci and the Honorable Senator Steinhardt are pillars of this community, and they've done tremendous good. But I also know that as of last week, they're being investigated in South Jersey in connection to some kind of development of a warehouse from a land deal. And I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer, and if I misrepresented that, I truly do apologize. I've been following the warehouse sprawl in Warren County and the various land use boards where arguments for and against have been made. And to Sarah Hare's point, who just spoke, sorry, I don't mean to copy there. It looks like peanut farms everywhere, connected to people who have an interest in developing them. Sorry if the analogy is a little bit imperfect, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. When I was here last month, one of the very respected board members here posed an interesting question to me, and I want to try to answer that question. He said, well, what if Mr. Perucci never sells the land or doesn't do anything with it because he doesn't get what he wants? Good. And I'd like to try to answer that question with another question, which is, are we serving the public as elected officials here, or are we serving conflicts of interest? So, thank you very much for your time and your service.
I'll try not to spit. Sandra Morrisette, 5 Fairview Heights, Phillipsburg. According to the law Governor Murphy signed in 2020, an overburdened community where 35% of households are identified as low income, or 40% identified as low income, or, 40% identified as minority, tribal, or indigenous community, or 40% of people have limited English proficiency. The flats meet that criteria. And that was confirmed as such by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Commissioner Sean LaTourette in a June community meeting a few years ago at St. Philip and James Mercy Hall. Commissioner LaTourette referred attendees to the New Jersey Warehouse Siting Guidelines, of which we've read several portions into public record. In August 2018, Yale University and Peking University in China released a joint research paper detailing the fact that long-term exposure to air pollution is linked to a huge reduction in intelligence. The sample set was a panel of over 25,000 people across 162 randomly chosen counties in China. This study targeted the older population. They discovered that pollution also impacts cognitive abilities in older people. Now, we know pollution affects children's intelligence, with an average impact equivalent to having lost a year in a child's valuable education. Another study found toxic air is linked to extremely high mortality with people with mental disorders and also increased mental illness in children. That was a British study. This study was published in the well-known and well-respected journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And that study looked at 20,000 people in China between 2010 and 2014 and compared test results in records of nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide. While some people have said pollution in New Jersey will decrease around warehouses because New Jersey has passed legislation stating that all trucks have to be electric by a certain date. That's not what the law actually states. It says, and it mandates, that in about 4 months, for every 10 regular trucks, regular heavy-duty trucks sold, 1 electric heavy-duty truck will be sold. That will not impact the pollution that is being detailed heavily in the New Jersey warehouse siting guidelines. That much. Thank you for your attention. I hope and pray that each of you look into your heart of hearts and think about the future of the children in this community, pregnant women in this community, because pollution increases child mortality and miscarriages. As well as, of course, now we understand a bit more of how it affects older people. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Robyn Coe-Donaldson, that's C-O-E, Donaldson. I just want to read a couple of things. I can't really add a lot to what's been said already. But these are from that 2013 re-examination report. And there's nothing here that tells me that a warehouse is consistent. Under industrial, it says encourage and aid in incompatible non-residential uses to find alternate, more appropriate locations in town. As you expand on this, what you're finding out is that the plan that was proposed, the master plan proposes residential all along the river. This is the development that was put forth. So they were looking to move that industrial area, not grow it. Same thing went all the way down to down there by the sewer plant. Housing. It says review areas along the river to determine appropriate locations for new market rate housing. Explore programs to increase affordable home ownership. Reduce truck traffic on neighborhood residential streets. Start all these things, I can read it quickly for you. Create a riverfront development plan for the entire length of the river frontage, providing for river-related activities, businesses, housing, and access plan for trails and view areas. Revise the zoning code to eliminate truck-dependent uses from areas with limited access to major highway network. Develop a recreation and open space plan to provide parks and recreation throughout the town with green acres. This is with regard specifically to Howard Street. The block should be rezoned to encourage or accommodate the uses that would complement the surrounding residential neighborhoods, new and old. The Riverfront Heritage Trail System and overall riverfront revitalization effort should provide a transition from the high-density multifamily development along the river to a single-family neighborhood along Mercer Street and enhance the entrance to Delaware River Park. To that end, a townhouse option perhaps as a conditional use, ought to be explored for the block with appropriate bulk and design requirements. I read through this one, I read through the year before and the one before that, but this is the plan, which was residential. That's what I would like to see there. I think that the town would benefit more from additional residential than commercial use that adds trucks in a residential areas. Thank you.
Joan Pierce, Prospect Street, Phillipsburg. Ladies and gentlemen, you got a big decision to make tonight. Some of these people in the audience just don't get it. They really don't. They're talking about pollution. I've seen pollution all my life. Like I said at council a couple weeks ago, send out letters, close down every factory in this town, shut down every gas station in this town, stop mowing your grass, stop weed whacking, get out your bicycles, ride to work, because everything is pollution. Trucks come out of Atlantic States. Trucks run down South Main Street. This poor man wants to put a warehouse there to give us jobs. The union wants work. Give it to him. My husband's been out of work a year. Those people there, some of them aren't even from downtown. Where were they when Atlantic States was running around the clock when I was a kid waking me out of bed? They were nowhere to be found. Now all of a sudden, because they don't want to get their way, they want to tell this gentleman what he can do with his property. I hope you vote yes for that warehouse, because it's going to bring revenue to this town, jobs for our people, and when the union workers are done, it's going to bring plenty of jobs here. And all those warehouses up there at Ingersoll Rand are giving jobs to our people. And what that gentleman said about working and our people, the kids having their fathers teach and football and whatnot is the honest God's truth. So I hope you all vote yes for that warehouse. Thank you very much.
Peggy Grencer, Mercer Street, Phillipsburg. She was right. It is a hard decision, very hard. But we have an example of this developer's past history with Phillipsburg. As far as the warehouses up there, Bridge Point, 50% empty, according to their website.
Right.
Now, I'm saying it's not fair that he owns a property and can't develop it, but I don't believe a warehouse is really necessary. We have to look at what's good for Phillipsburg, with all the traffic that's going to be on Center Street, all the warehouses around the area. It's going to affect our streets everywhere. I see trucks going around Purcell Hill that weren't there before, and I've lived there quite a few years. But it is a very, very hard decision. And I'm asking you to do what's best for Phillipsburg. I looked at different things and what can go down there that would suit both ends, and I don't have an answer. Obviously nobody else does. But I want to know that if this warehouse goes in, what are we going to do about Center Street? 3 schools of children have to cross that street, and 1 is on it. We have Green Street School, the old Green Street, the middle school, the kids have to be on it, and Learning Center. That is an issue, and I don't believe the developer can deny that. But again, it is a very, very hard decision. My concern is, how is this going to affect Phillipsburg? Downtown traffic, the wear and tear, and you know there's going to be trucks going through the culvert. We're trying to. As I say, there's a very hard answer to this question. So again, think of what's good for Phillipsburg overall, the maintenance and everything, and the good. I hope this brings good jobs in. I hope a good company comes in and brings fantastic jobs for Phillipsburg. But as I say, it's a very hard decision. Take care.
Curt Rowell, Rowell, 975 Mill Street. Right across the alley, the Bulldogs were in uniform practice tonight. Cheerleaders are out there. Those are the kids that some of whom are coming up from the Mercer, Sid Greaves, South Main corridor to participate in this great sports program. I'm a big Bulldog supporter, and for the sake of those kids and their health, I really implore the board to delay any motion, vote, or recommendation until they've had a chance to go through David's document. There's just an amazing outpouring of research and real concern for the community that's been expressed tonight. And I'm so impressed. It's not just commendable for citizens to step up here with the research, facts, observations they've made, but it's actually extraordinary. And I applaud them, and I ask the board to delay, look at these documents closely, look at David's analysis, and come back to make an informed decision. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Gayle Rogers. That's R-O-G-E-R-S. I'm a little new to this, as I think I had mentioned once before. But one of the things is I commend everyone, good or bad, their opinions on this whole entire issue. But one of the facts is that I agree with the truck issue being a bad idea in the warehouse, simply because I look at what's going on around town. And I see so many trucks making illegal turns, not caring about the people who are crossing the streets. And if the warehouse comes, there's going to be more trucks, there'll be more children at risk, more residents at risk, regardless of their age, because there's more people walking, whether they're walking for exercise or walking because they don't have a vehicle or whatever. I see them walking on the side of the road. There's trucks coming down, speeding, making turns with their big old signs saying, "Do not turn here," and they turn anyway, going up one-way streets. That is not good. So I think we should consider whether or not a warehouse is good and how much truck traffic there's going to be. And one other thing, I understand what the lady said about jobs, but this is 2024. More and more you hear about robotics. Robotics are going to take the place of all of those jobs. So we may say now in 2024 that yes, we're going to have this explosion of work, but in 2025 that may be totally different. So we need to take into consideration that fact also. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Graxmyer, Graxmeier. I live on Mercer Street in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. I just broke the 40-year mark this year. And 40 years ago, I'd walk downtown, take a look at Center Square, Union Square down there, and go there today. And 40 years later, in my opinion, the downtown area is kind of worse for the wear than it was 40 years ago. Every day, I drive across the Free Bridge, going to Easton, drive home. Driving into Easton and then driving back is a very stark difference in what the towns look like when you go.
It is.
I think Easton has the benefit of having government that was forward-looking, that would work with entrepreneurs and developers who had visions and resources in order to develop what you see over there. They want to drive back at night, why not Phillipsburg? Okay. So how is a project on a parcel of land on Howard Street connected to this and the battle over this project? I think developers notice other developers and what happens to them when they go to certain areas to work. Developers notice. So I'm hoping that in 20 years from now, when I'm looking to celebrate my 90th birthday, I'm somewhere down in Union Square looking at something because our government has kept a forward look and worked with people who know how to create and to build up an area instead of having to drive across the bridge to Easton. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
Hi, good evening. Michael Perucci, 2351 Washington Lane, Bethlehem, PA. So I'm sitting here and listening to all the particular comments, and as I think the board knows, and most of the people that have been around town for a long time, 20 years ago or thereabouts, I tried to get this property changed from industrial to residential, and I was excited to come to my hometown and do residential because we were doing it across both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So after almost 20 years, I can't do it. I've had every developer in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, both national and local, look at this site. There's millions of dollars of environmental cleanup that no one's even thinking about that we could clean up. No residential person is going to come in here, I found out, and spend millions of dollars for the environmental cleanup that needs to be done on the site, except for us. And that's going to require probably a cold storage unit or something of that sort. Last year, one of the councilmen asked us to tie this property into rail. So we just spent $300,000 redesigning this property, shrinking it significantly, over 100,000 square feet, so we could accommodate rail. And we've worked with the short rail people here in Phillipsburg. We don't know how many trucks are going to come here. We have no idea. It could be one a day. I mean, we have to come back to the planning board when we do find a user and go through all of this in regard to that. And everyone's presupposing that there's going to be 1,000 trucks. It's a 300,000 plus warehouse. It has to probably go for cold storage. That's the only thing selling right now. So I just want to jump around a little. I want to answer Mr. Citron. So we are currently developing in Vineland, New Jersey, 270,000 square feet of cold storage. So the city of Vineland wanted jobs for their people and wanted ratables because they were having the same difficulty that Phillipsburg has had. They created a municipal authority, gave it a board of directors, and gave it an executive director, and they created 42 lots, averaging 20, 30 acres or thereabouts. Every single developer, all 42, and we were number 42, we all paid the exact same price to the authority, $35,000 an acre. We bought the last site there because nobody else wanted it. Because of the 33 acres, 11 of those acres had Indian artifacts and wetlands. And so all the local developers passed it, and it sat there for 2 years. We came along and we purchased it. We paid the $35,000 an acre, even for the 11 acres we couldn't use. And we developed it because we have some expertise with DEP. We have expertise on historical artifacts. And we used that, and we spent a lot of money with geotechnical, engineers, architects, historians, to get this property. Now, did we make some money on it? Absolutely. And what the grievance is, and all the other 41 developers did it, but it turns out, and I don't know this for a fact, but the rumor is that the tax collector is upset, and he's retiring, and he wants to run for mayor against the mayor. Like, I don't know violent politics to save my life. And thankfully, I've kind of forgot about Phillipsburg politics for quite a while. So yes, have we been in the paper? Yeah. I'm willing to tell you right now, I don't think there's going to be anything of it, other than some person felt, hey, there must be something wrong here. They made a lot of money. But they don't realize that we're still building the building, and it will be done in the first quarter of 2025, a cold storage. It will start with 80 jobs that are going to be paid, from what I understand, in the $50,000 range, and go up to 120 jobs. And that authority was specifically designed not to make money on the land, but to create jobs for the people in Vineland, because they needed jobs down there. Don't forget, we were an avid district, the 30 poorest towns in New Jersey. And you talk about pollution, when I grew up here, it was Ingersoll Rand, and all my neighbors and their fathers and the uncles, everybody worked at Ingersoll Rand, all had great jobs. So you could eat off the street in Phillipsburg back then. But you want to talk about pollution? Compare that pollution to those warehouses up there who are paying taxes. I don't see any pollution near that. Like when you had Bethlehem Steel, when we bought the Bethlehem Steel property. You want to talk about pollution? Now, we don't have, the Bethlehem Steel anymore, but we created over 2,500 jobs there. And I grew up in this town. I'm not going to do anything to hurt it. But after trying almost 20 years, there's not a lot I can do. And I think Charlie was right, and I had a conversation with Rob and some other people today. I think P-Burg's missing the whole boat. I mean, we are building, right now, 540 apartments in Easton. We're right across from the 3rd and Ferry building, 264, and we're about to start near the McDonald's, another 270. And that town has worked with everyone. And when you go over to Easton, you are invited in and to figure out how to do things. I have no idea how we have not developed our downtown near the Free Bridge. I give credit to the mayor. They're just buying that red house finally. And I walked away from, I had it under contract 6-8 months ago because it has 15 feet of contaminated fill. And only the town is going to be able to get the grants needed to clean that up. And if they're successful and knock down that red house and clean it up and put a back entrance, you could build 300 beautiful luxury apartments that are going to be nicer than Easton because you're going to be looking at the waterfall and the lighted bridge. And Time is a great restaurant over in Easton. They just opened up. But you can do the same thing in Phillipsburg. And there's so many other things. I talked to my partner, Doug Steiner. By the way, I wasn't a senator when we went under contract on that property. You got to reverse the toll bridge. You got to change that you pay tolls. The opposite way. That you have got to pay tolls coming into New Jersey in the morning. You would get rid of all that traffic on South Main Street. And I think Doug is working on it. And they're the things I know Randy, Councilwoman, are working on. Like, I see this whole project with all the orange, it's a misdirection. Okay? And Mr. Stine, who's, the gatekeeper of the river, I mean, his office is across from the Amazon in Burlington. Because I'm the redeveloper next door to 1 million square feet, smack on the river. Ours is not going to be anything like that. You're not even going to be able to see this project. And we're not going anywhere near Mercer Street. And we bought that property in McKean. It's not only going to help our traffic, it's going to help the pipe plant's traffic. And the issue of the trucks going the wrong direction, well, that's a police enforcement issue. In Center Street, you can't have trucks on it. So you're not going by schools. And if a police officer has to sit there with a car, then they're going to have to do that. And you can only take a right on McKean. So the trucks are literally going to be in Phillipsburg for 1,400 feet. And I think a lot of it, if we do cold storage, which I'm hoping is probably what we can do, a lot of that is railed. And we had a beautiful cold storage company that wanted to come in a year and a half ago, and with their lawsuits and everything, those jobs went away. And they were telling me 250 jobs back then. So, we could sit here for another 20 years, but it's the only thing I can do. And maybe that's what they wanted, just to, You put a fence up and forget about it. But the people that live down there, with the homeless people, with the drug issues, in that park, you put a decent building next to that park, you start to see people come down to the river park. There's hardly anyone there. I mean, I've been down there a lot of times, and people are afraid to go down there. And so you want to talk about, cultural things, and you want to talk about open space, I'm all for that. I'm totally all for that. I've been involved in a lot of that. But you can't have a park that people are afraid to go to. And I just think this is not the major issue of Phillipsburg. The major issue of Phillipsburg, which I know they're tackling, is fix that bridge commission traffic, develop there, put a divider going into the free bridge so you kill all the Pennsylvania people coming for the cheap gas and don't create the traffic problem. And there's so many things that could be done. And I think of football. I think of this as just like a misdirection. Easton used to be great at that against us on Thanksgiving Day. It's like a misdirection. It's not the core issue for Phillipsburg. And I will have to meet all the criteria, not only for this town, for the county, for the DEP. I mean, it's just not going to let me go build a polluted place. And these trucks, I just think it's not going to be what people think. And you got millions of square feet in Ingersoll Rand. I do not see hundreds of trucks lined up. And our property in Bethlehem is next to 10 million square feet over there. And it flows. I mean, there's 6,000 jobs over there, well-paying jobs. And that's what Phillipsburg needs. Because there's no more Ingersoll Rands, there's no more Bethlehem Steels, there's no more of those big manufacturing companies. Our economy has changed. The way people shop, the way people purchase things, it's all changed. And it's nice when someone has a job and they can say, well, we don't want that kind of stuff in our town. Well, maybe they have good jobs, God bless them. But maybe there are people in this town that could use good jobs. And we were working with Northwest Cap to train Phillipsburg residents to get those jobs first. So it wasn't just like we're gonna just leave town in the middle of the night. So I know this is an issue, but like I said, it was industrial before I had the grand scheme of doing residential, and I just haven't been able to do it in 18 years. I pay $120,000, $125,000, $140,000 a year in taxes there, insurance and everything. It's not something that I didn't try. I probably have paid close to $3 million in taxes on that property to date. I paid $700,000 for sewer. We also agreed to redo the water line on Howard Street, which doesn't even impact us, but it's to help the residents of Mercer Street have a loop so they have better pressure. So we're willing to work with the town, but I think everyone's kind of jumping ahead as to what is expected. And the whole, excuse me, the whole thing down South Jersey, I mean, you could look it up. Eventually, you'll read about it. We paid what everybody else paid. We did all the bells and whistles. We went through all the hearings. We did everything correctly. And I think we're getting caught up in local politics. So, but you could do some research and find out about that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amari Pulido, last name P as in Peter, U-L-I, D as in David O. This is my first time doing any speaking at a meeting, even though I've been to plenty throughout the Warren, Hunterdon, and Somerset counties. Seeing as both Carucci and Citron mentioned certain things I'd like to comment on, I actually wrote a letter to the editor of Tap Into Phillipsburg that was published yesterday, and it has to do with what we're talking about today. It has to do with warehouse sprawl and potential conflicts of interest, which simply can't be ignored and pushed to the side and referred to as local politics. So I'm simply going to read what was published. On August 15th, Politico Pro reported an FBI investigation into 2 New Jersey senators, including our legislative district 23 Senator Doug Stine. The real estate deal under investigation involved public land that was then flipped for a whopping 700% profit. The land is being used for, I heard this phrase tonight, a cold storage warehouse, similar to the many warehouses we see coming in throughout Warren County. and the Highlands and the Lehigh Valley. Locals may remember there was the Jandal multi-million square foot warehouse application in White Township that was ultimately bought and protected by the State Agriculture Development Committee after 4 years of protesting. I wrote a letter to the editor about that as well. Now, we see residents protesting similar uses of land here in Phillipsburg and Lopat. Warehouse sprawl over our farmland. People are afraid that it could threaten their property values. We've heard time again how people are concerned about increased truck traffic, noise, harm to wildlife, environmental pollution, and these are all valid concerns to have. So whether legally purchased and developed or not, I wonder who really benefits from the land being used for these warehouses that we keep seeing coming in all over. One of the companies that flipped the property was Dodia Investments, registered by GOP Chairman Stine, and he was senator when the property was sold. That was mentioned earlier as well. He was senator when the property was sold. Several of Steinhardt's law partners, including Michael Carucci, he recently said last month that residents' concerns here are totally misguided, was also involved in flipping the land being investigated. The parcel was sold to 4 LLCs for $1.15 million, and then they were sold for $8.4 million, a 700% profit, which to me is not small. The NJ Department of Environmental Protection did have to come in and protect Native American artifacts found on the land. Despite all of the concerns mentioned, the companies and individuals involved believe their deal was ethical. The Director of Economic Development for the Vineland Industrial Commission commented that, yes, they made money, but everything was done by the book. The FBI investigation raises suspicion of this. Even if the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, there seem to be some clear conflicts of interest. My question that I wrote into the letter was specific to Steinhardt, but I want this just to be interpreted in the case of land use boards, real estate development, and politics and residents. How can anyone operate as a legislator, a chairman, an attorney representing various land use boards, a real estate developer, and a warehouse industrialist? How are those conflicts of interest ethical? Many suspect that these elected officials and their friends in business can speculate on land until a business deal comes along, regardless of public interest. I hope this is something you take into consideration if legal land speculation is soft corruption. Regardless of if the FBI finds that they're guilty of anything or not, I still think these conflicts of interest need to be considered. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, thank you for having this meeting tonight. James Bloom from Easton, Pennsylvania, Ferry Street. And as a previous planning commissioner that was on the Easton Planning Commission, a lot of things I heard spoken about Easton, its development, and the jobs being generated there are because of some of the high rises that Mr. Pirelli has built. And we have a very good booming economy now. I've been there for 40 years, so I've seen the issues with Easton, as well as our sister city, Phillipsburg, which we try to work with frequently. And as a planning commissioner, following our comprehensive plan was always key to our decision making. And I hope this board takes that fully into consideration of which was read earlier here today. So, you know, I think the jobs and the building issues and work building high-rise apartments here on that site would create an enormous amount of construction work for the fair people of New Jersey, not to mention the tax base. And whenever you have a number of residents that are going to be living there long-term, or even coming and going, you then create a much more economic viability for your town. And I just bicycled through the town. I bicycle and hike a lot of places, my wife and I come through Phillipsburg quite often, and I see a main street that has so much potential to be so much more than it is. Your train is is part of that, and it'll be going right past this warehouse, which is a recreational issue. You also have a canoeing rental place, which again is a recreational thing that's being impacted. And we use the Delaware Canal on the Pennsylvania side quite often, and I see a number of people from New Jersey also using that as a recreation source. And I'm also surprised that we don't have one of our developers here tonight planning on building a hotel directly across from that that's been on our docket for a number of years now, and that would greatly impact his hotel dreams there. In terms of river quality, runoff and other issues become important there for fishing, for boating, and those sorts of issues. So I think the concerns about work and tax bases, the number of people living in a high-rise there could provide quite a bit of tax base as well. So that's, I hope, as a sister city and a neighbor, you take our side of the Easton, which has been referenced here, into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Please. I'm closing public comment at this time. Go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the attorney for the Land Use Board, my job is to simply advise the board on what the law is. I'm either an opponent or a proponent of anything that's been said here tonight. But I just want to educate again the board members and the public as to the role of the Land Use Board. The Land Use Board is a board that has limited jurisdiction. Its jurisdiction is derived completely from the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law. And what it can and cannot do is confined to that statute. Also, under the New Jersey Redevelopment and Housing Law, when the town council wishes to refer something to the Land Use Board must address it. And I want to read this part of the statute because I think it's very important. This is NJS 40A:12A-7E. Quote, prior to the adoption of a redevelopment plan or revision or amendment thereto, the planning board, that's us, shall transmit to the governing body within 45 days after referral a report containing its recommendation concerning the redevelopment plan. This report shall include an identification of any provisions in the proposed redevelopment plan which are inconsistent with the master plan and recommendations concerning these inconsistencies and any other matters as the board deems appropriate. The governing body, when considering the adoption of a redevelopment plan or revision or amendment thereof, shall review the report of the planning board and may approve or disapprove or change any recommendation by a vote of a majority of its full authorized membership. As I said last time, nobody on here, to my knowledge, is a professional engineer or professional planner. So collectively, the Land Use Board has asked their professional engineer and planner to undertake this study on their behalf. He has undertaken that study, and he has made his opinions, conclusions, and recommendations. That is now for the Land Use Board to deliberate upon. And as members of the board, you have four choices that I see. One is you can table or adjourn this for further investigation. You can ask Mr. O'Brien to do other things. You can conduct your own investigation, but you don't have to vote on it tonight. You can table it. Number two, you can approve it tonight as authored without any changes. Number three, you can disapprove it as authored without any changes. Or number four, you can approve it with your own recommendations and revisions that you would like. Those are your options, the only options that I see. You have a fiduciary obligation to the town of Phillipsburg residents to carry out your job. You know what your job is on this, but you have a limited role. So reminding the public, all of the things that were said here, for and against, are all valid issues, but they are also issues that are more appropriately, in my view, raised at the redevelopment authority, which in this town is the town council. There is not a site plan here. There is just a question that was asked of the town council of the LUB. Is this proposed change that the town council is considering consistent or inconsistent with the master plan and the zoning ordinances? And that's all that you're going to vote on. And again, you have, and then it goes, however we vote, however they vote, excuse me, I'm not we, however they vote, it goes to the governing body, and the governing body can ignore it, throw it in the garbage, or they can do whatever they wish with it. But we're following here, you're following the statutory law. You're required to do this, and that's what you've done. So those are your four options, Mr. Chairman. Table for further investigation, approve in its current format, disapprove in its current format, or approve with any recommendation or revisions or amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Or, sorry, public comments closed. Yes. Anybody have any questions, comments?
I have a comment.
Yes.
We've sat here and listened to a lot of people talk. And I went to school 60 years ago down there. And a lot of people here don't live in this town, but they have their opinion, and we listen to them. A lot of people just came here and haven't lived here 60, 70 years. When I was going to school downtown, there was my uncle's oil business was back there. There was Chopper back there. There was General Supply back there. There was Tippett Wood. There was a railroad company. There was more truck traffic than you're ever going to see coming out of there. There was an SMP that had 65 trucks parked back there. There was a junkyard that iron and metal was going in and out of there every single day. So I guess you're going to know how I'm voting. I want to see some jobs. I pay taxes in this town. I looked out there, and there's a lot of people out there don't pay taxes in this town. A lot of people don't worry about what's going up and down South Main Street, that people aren't working, that maybe want a job, can have a job. So, Mr. Chairman, let's call for a vote.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion
What's your motion?
to accept or propose the consistency report.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Earnings? Okay, are there any further comments before we take a vote? I would like to state that I will be voting for this because the development of this land, which has been vacant for 60 years, is needed in this town. It complements the other side of the Howard Street. No matter how much we wanted back in 2013 to try and make it residential, it hasn't worked in the past 11 years, 12 years. It will provide economic stimulus and jobs for the town, and as Mr. Carucci said, will provide the cleanup of that property. Roll call.
Bill, just to clarify this,
Yeah.
the motion is to adopt the report as written without any modifications, is that correct? And that was seconded?
That was.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Mr. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Grotzman?
Yes.
Mr. Penrose?
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Paulus?
She's not, you don't ask.
I don't have to ask.
You don't ask, you're recused.
Vice Chairman Zwicker?
Yes.
And Chairman Duffy?
Yes. 7 yeses. Okay. Okay, I'll now open it to public comment.
Excuse us, the meeting's not over yet, so we can just have the board here.
David Morrisette, 5 Fairview Heights, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. 2 questions. Chairman Duffy. One is, I'm curious, in past hearings and votes for the warehouse, you recused yourself.
Correct.
And you didn't recuse yourself in this vote.
I recused myself on a site plan. This is not a site plan. This is a consistency report.
Okay. So, and the second question I have, Chairman Duffy, is I wonder if any of the members of the Land Use Board that voted that this is consistent would be willing to make a statement to the residents of the flats where the trucks are going to be increasing and traveling through in regards, if they would make a statement as to why they think that's a good idea.
Well, excuse me, but I made my statement, the vice chair made their statement. Those are the statements that have been made.
I was just asking, I was wondering if I could ask that.
They've been made.
So you're
They're
saying...
public record.
Hold on a second. Let me try and find a middle road here. Your question is appropriate, you're allowed to ask it. And you heard...
He's allowed to say that.
Correct. And anybody here, they can speak if they choose to, or they don't have to.
Okay, so they can speak if they choose.
They can if they choose. It's an individual decision. They have no obligation to, but they are also allowed to.
Okay.
What is it that you're asking specifically?
Yes, address, of course. Mr. Branch, what I'm asking is, if any of the members of the Land Use Board that voted that this is consistent and would positively move this forward to the council, have any comments they would like to make to the residents of Cedar Alley, Mercer Street, Cherry Alley, South Main, where trucks are going to be passing. I'm not even mentioning the trucks that will illegally be using Center Street and continuing to use Center Street illegally, and the other roads throughout Phillipsburg. Do you have any comments you would like to make regarding the increased truck traffic that we're going to have for the residents?
Everybody else be quiet.
Can I speak?
You can. You can if you wish to, but you don't have to.
Understood.
Sure.
Yeah. Where I live at, trucks accidentally make turns and come up my road as well, and it annoys me. But I think what annoys me the most from what I've heard is the facts, the disregard for the facts. That, literally, there needs to be something developed there. I haven't heard anything from anyone giving a perspective of what should be developed there that can be. It sounds like from what I've heard, and I'm new to this, it sounds like from what I've heard, it's going to take monumental effort to turn it into a residential area. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. But it would not limit traffic. It wouldn't limit traffic. Larger traffic, yeah, trucks are large. But that's it. It'd still be cars there and people coming there. Even if you developed an outdoor space, there's still going to be traffic. People are going to potentially get hurt in traffic. It's the nature of the beast, right? So for me, it's really difficult. Like, I'm listening to this, and I'm really trying to put this together, and I'm trying to make sure I make the right decision. Because it does affect me and my family. I have an autistic son, and you know this. I don't want him to venture out into traffic, especially, if it's disregarded. And you know it yourself, that the police need to be more involved with making sure that the traffic is, I think someone had mentioned earlier about, monitoring. The police need to be in these places to make sure that these things happen. That's a whole nother issue. That's not this issue. That's a whole different issue. Because even without the trucks here, people still getting into accidents, still traffic up and down these goddamn roads. I thought that was going to be a problem for me, this truck traffic. And then it just didn't turn into that. it turned into something else. It turned into like trying to save it for the wildlife, and I'm confused. I'm really, really confused, because I think that if something goes there, as long as it takes care of the septics and all of these other things, I'm just confused at what your real end game is, because I don't think I hear it.
All right, I don't want this to go too far afoul. Everybody has to come back to what I said. The board has a limited jurisdiction. I don't think your question is fair, because the question wasn't, please explain why you voted that this is consistent with the master plan. And I don't think your answer was fair either, because you didn't talk about that. You talked about the truck. So hold on.
He answered the question I asked.
Okay, but I don't think it was appropriate now.
I see.
Okay.
I see.
This board already voted. They voted that this plan, they're recommending this plan, this consistency report go to the council. You're asking why he voted that way. I don't think he answered it, but, I think it's time to move on.
Chairman, or Attorney Wilhelm, I wasn't asking why he voted. I was asking if they had anything to say. And Mr. Branch, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for responding. You are the first public official that has the, well, maybe the second. I think there was one on the council. But you had the courage to answer the question and provide information for the public on your thoughts. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome.
So, real quickly, there's varying opinions in the orange shirts, and most of the orange shirts would like to see the property developed, as would most of the people who live on Mercer Street. But they want to see it developed in the way that the master plan indicates. Riverside residential, Riverside commercial, or heritage. And they would like it to be developed in a way that complements, as per the master plan, those exact words, complements the existing residential area. But I do thank you for your comments. Thank you very much. I guess that's it. Anybody else? No? Thank you.
Have a good night. Anyone else? I'm closing public comment. Any need for executive session?
No.
No need for executive session. Anything for the good of the board? John, it's good to have you back.
Thank you, it's good to be back. Thank you for everybody for your concerns and well wishes, I appreciate it.
Do I have a motion? Do I hear a motion for adjournment? A second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Councilwoman